Hey guys, so today we're going to make a video on a very common thing people think about when they're setting up new aquariums and when they're thinking about the aquarium they have now. And very common, probably the deciding factor when you're picking out a aquarium. The amount of gallons you're going to get for that tank. Usually this is the deciding factor, and that's overstocking aquariums. A lot of people, when they start out in the hobby, are really surprised on the amount of fish that can really fit into a small tank, for saltwater fish I mean. A lot of people, because they're used to freshwater, think, oh well, I can keep 5 fish in a 6-gallon tank, and that just does not work. And I'm going to talk to you about that. Alright, now there are a lot of things that you need to take into account when you are talking about a overstocked aquarium. There's a lot of factors that determine if the tank is overstocked, and that is how much a fish likes to swim. For instance, tangs. Tangs love to swim. A tang in this tank would be impossible because they just love to swim. They come from a part of the ocean where there's tons of swimming space, tons of open swimming area, and but a goby is going to be fine in my tank because a goby is going to stay at the bottom and be hopping around the bottom. It's not so much going to be pacing around the tank like a tang. Another thing I have to take into account is the temperament. Temperament for fish, such as if I put a damselfish in this tank, he may as well kill every fish I own. That could be very possible, but in say a 100-gallon tank, that damsel most likely would not kill these fish. It most likely wouldn't even bother these fish. Biological filtration. Biological filtration would be live rock and bio balls, ceramic rings, all those things that are going to be breaking down fish waste and fish food you're going to have to take into account. Also fish length, adult fish length. For instance, a hippo tang or a regal blue tang in this tank would not work because they get 12 inches rather than this clownfish that gets 3 inches as an adult, most likely. So those are definitely some things you got to put into account when you're determining if your future tank that you're planning on getting is going to be overstocked. Alright, now a lot of fish have different metabolisms, which means certain fish are going to have to be fed more than other fish. These clownfish, this tank, I feed this tank once a day. I feed them a variety of food once a day. And that is because these fish do not need to be fed as often as certain other fish. For instance, anthias, they have a much faster metabolism. Moorish idols, certain butterfly fish, they're going to need to be fed about 3 times a day, rather than these fish that are going to need to be fed once a day. And because you're feeding more, the food is going to be building up, causing nitrates, and the fish will be making waste more, which will be building up your nitrates, which means if you're going to have an anthias in this tank, you're going to want an even better biological filtration. If I had an anthias in this tank and I was feeding more often, I would probably add more live rock. So you're going to really, I like what a lot of people do, and what I did, I made a list of fish I want for a certain, like, I would make a list of fish I wanted, and then build the tank on those fish around the fish's needs. For if you have tangs, you're gonna want to put you're gonna want to move the rocks around so that they have tons of swimming space. If you're gonna have gobies or firefish or basslets, you're gonna want to have tons of rocks packed together with holes and caves and all sorts of places that they can shoot into when they get scared. Rather than tangs that aren't really shy, and they're going to want to just be swimming around, getting all the attention. And a lot of fish produce more waste than other fish. For instance, pufferfish are a good example because pufferfish are very messy fish. I don't mean they're rolling around in filth on the bottom of the tank. What I mean is they're going to be making a lot of waste. And a lot of waste, again, is adding to the pollution in your tank, and you want your tank to be very clean and very healthy. So puffers are going to need a stronger biological filter. Sorry. Where was I? Oh yeah, pufferfish are going to be making more waste than clean fish. Clean fish would be your butterfly fish. Butterfly fish are very clean fish. They make small amounts of waste rather than tangs and puffer fish who make tons of waste, which is going to be adding to the pollution in your tank, which means more water changes. So if you have tangs, puffers, all those fish that make a lot of waste, you're going to want to be doing more water changes, and you're going to want to have more live rock and more bio-balls or something that's going to be breaking down their waste. Now temperament. Temperament, as I said, damselfish. Damselfish in this size tank is just, I would never keep a damselfish in this tank. Maybe a yellowtail. Yellowtail damsels are usually pretty docile, but a humbug damselfish or a domino damsel or sergeant major damsel, anything like that in this tank would just tear through everyone. So damselfish are a good example, because damselfish in this size tank would be awful, and damselfish in a 100-gallon tank would be a model citizen. See, this tank, I would not consider this tank overstocked. Every single fish has their own hiding spot. Every single fish gets along most of the time. I mean, as you can see, they were kind of going after my wrasse a little bit, but that's because he's new. Once they get to know each other, they'll be fine. None of my fish really have any issues. I have tons of biological filtration. I have exactly 24 pounds of live rock, and ceramic rings in the filter, and bio balls in the filter. Also, you're going to want to have at least the amount of pounds that your tank has of gallons. For instance, if you have a 75-gallon tank, you're going to want 75 pounds of live rock or more. If you have a 100-gallon tank, you're going to want 100 gallons of live rock or more. And you can move the live rock to fit the needs of your fish.